Do you know your love language? Well, guess what? That is probably not enough for you to build a successful relationship. And I'm going to break it down and talk to you how to actually do it on the ways that I did it with my wife to be married over 10 years until the day she passed away. Hey, Jason here. And if you've been watching the channel, you've been seeing me as I'm settling down in Zambia. I've been spending this last 2 years traveling Africa just to get a foothold here in the southern region, and I figured out how. And make sure you watch the videos that I drop if you're looking to actually become an expat here in the continent of Africa. I broke down why the healthcare here is very, very great, but I also do these videos too, talking about relationships, sharing with you the things that I've learned in the 10-year successful marriage until the untimely passing of my wife. And it's just things that I want to download to help other people out there. Because I see a lot of guys and girls, men and women, they're really wanting a relationship. And a lot of these so-called dating coaches out here, they're not in the business of getting a relationship for themselves. So they're not giving you accurate advice. And so let's go ahead and dig into today's video. Now, this video actually came from, I was watching the reunion of Pop the Balloon for season one, and it was really interesting. Some of the people, I think they came back with just an agenda to kind of fight and get their voice across to certain people. But I think some of them really came on there. They wanted to see the show become the greatness that it can become, which is helping people find love, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Being in a loving, happy relationship is one of the best things you can ever find in this world. You have your best friend 24/7. You have someone that you're happy with, someone that cheers you up when you're down. Like, I'm an advocate for love and for people who are looking to get married. And I believe it's one of the best relationships you can have. So if you hear that noise, it's me. I'm actually on my yoga ball right now. Unfortunately, I ended up slipping a disc again. Even with a spinal fusion, guys, you can still slip disc. And so I'm sitting on this now because it's actually a little bit more comfortable for my nerves. So please excuse me if you hear the ball moving around or it's being a little distraction. Just got to take care of health first. And so watching the show, it was going off good. It was being very positive. And there's this thing that happens a lot when it comes to any type of dating show. It can go to where it gets personal. And what I mean by that is people stop looking out of their perspective, looking out of other people's perspective, and they only look at things from their perspective. And they get kind of in their feelings. Not saying they are in their feelings, but like once you can no longer look and switch perspectives, you become narrow vision on how you're hearing everything, and you go more into a reaction into a response. And it was really interesting seeing it as it was happening on the show because a lot of people had valid points and valid reasons for the things that they did. But the one common thing that I kept seeing over and over again, everyone is thinking in a relationship, their partner is supposed to know how to do everything perfectly to make them happy. And I noticed it's because everyone was able to have an understanding of their love language. And I think that is a very good thing. One of the things my wife and I did, and we did this before the love languages was even a big book. We learned when we started reading about our love languages to see how we can cater to each other better. And most importantly, how we can be more receptive to someone whose dominant love language is not ours, how they can cater back to us and how we can acknowledge that. And so, like my big one for my wife was gift giving. I can get a very thoughtful, heartfelt, centered gift for her, our sisters, my brothers, my mom, anything like that. That was something that came naturally to me. And for hers were acts of kindness and saying I love you a lot, things like that. And it was my opposite. And so as we started learning more about our individual love languages, but then started understanding what are the other love languages, we started being able to receive the love that we were given for each other. And when we was able to start receiving that love better, we was able to acknowledge it better. And I think this is where a lot of relationships mess up. They don't acknowledge the love that they're being given. And that does make the other person feel like damn, dude, this person not even care? Like, what more do I need to do? And I think this is where a lot of black men and black women are falling short of a successful relationship. And I'm this. Remember, guys, this is just Jason from my perspective. So don't take this as something like, oh, this is the problem with everything. I'm just saying I'm seeing a pattern, and if we're not willing to do anything that is different, and we're getting the same results over and over again, that's Einstein's definition of insanity. So we have to start looking at things from a different perspective. And so I think a lot of people, yes, it's great that you know your love language, but become more aware of the other love languages. And I think once you become of that awareness and you start accepting that type of love entering your life, it creates a true language for the relationship. And then when you get to this point where the relationship has its own language, and I know this sounds weird because you're like, you and your wife both spoke English, so what language did you need? You start getting nonverbal communications. If you talk to someone that's been married for about 10, 15, 20 years, ask them like, hey, do you all have nonverbal communications? They're probably going to laugh at you because yes, majority of their communication becomes nonverbal. You may have certain little code words, things that are just funny for you two. You have things that y'all can say to de-stress anything that's going on at the time. Like the marriage becomes its own language, its own relationship. The marriage becomes its own entity. Like being married isn't a piece of paper. It is two souls combining. Like you and your partner actually combine. You create your own language for the relationship. Like Cece and I, we had a lot of good ones where, if things getting too stressed out, we had a certain word that we'll use. I'll never reveal that one. Here's a funny one that I will reveal. Whenever we was like, look, let's just look, this is what it is. I don't know. We don't want to hear nothing else about it. Like this is my foot in the sand. I'm done talking about it. We'll say, call it George. And it was something she said her dad used to say all the time. And so we would just, hey, call it George. Like even if we're dealing with something, let's say like when we were dealing with our house, we was like, look, this is our final offer, call it George. Like we're done. And that was one of the ways that we communicate. One of the other ones was just because I used to really enjoy her family and just some of the little suggestions, not suggestions, but the little things and little jargons they said. It was interesting to me hearing people from Trinidad and Tobago saying these things, and it was completely different from the kid who grew up in Dallas, Texas. And so the other one was like, if we just wanted to make a joke and we knew it was being funny, we'd be like, oh, I'm gonna box you in your teeth, which means I'm gonna hit you in your mouth. It sounds crazy, but we just started making those things, a part of our actual relationship language. And it has such big, profound meanings to it, to where it was like, hey, okay, let's just relax and laugh here. It's time. We've been taking stuff too serious to where, hey, this is it. We're done right here. And this is how we know things. It's time to get to a little bit more serious capacity. We had things around conspiracy theories we would say to each other. And it was just our little code word of like, okay, let's stop talking about this. Let's chill out. Just a lot of little different things. We even had nonverbal communication where there's times where she could just be thinking something and I was able to pick it up from somewhere else, even if I'm not in the same city as her, or if I was walking around town in Columbia. Like I think one day she was looking for barrettes, something for her dreads. Something just to do more of hairstyles and things like that. And then I walked past one of the Catholic churches and there was someone outside selling little different colorful headbands, things that you can use for your hair. And I bought her like 5 or 6 of them. And it didn't even cost much money. That was the funny thing. But I just looked at them and I was like, man, I think she would really appreciate these. And so getting those, and I brought them back, and she was like, dude, you must was reading my mind. Like I was actually looking on Google and Amazon on getting some stuff like this. And like, you'll be surprised how often you'll have those same in tune, in sync thought patterns, thought waves. And you'll just get what that person wanted, not even having to communicate with them. Like there was times where, I would just start craving vegan sushi out of nowhere. So I would just go pick it up before home. And she was like, dude, you must knew I really wanted this. And it was just like those little simple things, man. Like so much of a relationship are the things that are not being taught. It's the things you say in silence. It's the things you don't have to tell each other. It's the way you grow together and start completing each other's sentences. Like that perfect person is not out there who's just going to know exactly what you think right off the top. And the ways to actually build that type of communication, that type of relationship, the first thing you need to do is like you have to be calm. You can't rush a relationship. Like you have to be calm. Um, when you're rushing things, it's coming from a chaotic energy and it's not going in sync good enough. It's like you're trying to force that square peg in a round hole. It's not going to do it. But when you just relax and doing things and let it flow into sequence, that square peg becomes a circle peg. And now it's going in that round hole. And so that's how the relationship works. Like when you just start relaxing, get some of that extra tension that is not needed in the relationship. There's always going to be your stresses of day to day life, bills, things like that. But like, can you block out everything else? Like, let go of everybody else's problems just for a few moments to let the relationship breathe. Like, you'll be shocked how much external baggage you carry on each and every day from people that are not even in your closest circles. Like, is it work baggage? Is baggage from a cousin who's just getting locked up, or they having some business venture? Is it baggage from a friend that's just unloading their stress on you all day long? Like all of these different things have an effect on your relationship. And, it does take a village to build a successful relationship. And sometimes you got to isolate yourself in that village. I'm going to tell you right now, like the more you isolate yourself in that village, their relationships will become very strong because the relationship is doing everything. The relationship is the only thing that matters. And so when you have everybody else out of it, especially with this age of social media where you can just unload a post on something negative that happened and the whole world is just chiming in on what's best for you. And they don't even care what's best for you. Like only you care about what's really best for you. And so that's why isolating yourself in a relationship, because you have to be able to be calm. And I'm telling you, you'll be shocked how much stress you're actually bringing into your relationship that has nothing to do with you or him. Sometimes the mistrust you may be having is something you're hearing from a friend that you seeing that they doing or they go through, and it has nothing to do with your relationship. Like, the person that you're with. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to start allocating time for the relationship. A relationship doesn't just grow overnight. It just doesn't grow from mutual attraction. Mutual attraction is one thing, but that can only get you so far in a relationship. Even if you have a relationship where it's more sex dominant first, there's going to come a time where the sex is going to become boring and you're wanting more, you're desiring more. And that's just natural because we're goal oriented machines. Like we are here to be goal oriented. We all have purposes, multiple purposes to be exact. And so even when it comes to, let's say if your purpose is building that strong relationship, just saying, oh, I'm married, I'm done now. No, that's not it. You're just now at the first step. You just took a step off the starting line. The finish line is way, 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 way down there. You can't even see it because each year, each month, and each day, you're going to be having more and bigger, better goals for that relationship. So that will never actually hit a finish line. And that's one of the things that a lot of these dating coaches are not talking about. And that's one of the things that I also saw from the show. People did not prioritize going on dates. They was too busy in their DMs, too busy making excuses. And then the few that did go on dates, the other person wasn't reciprocative or appreciative of where they went to or what the person did for them. Like everybody isn't looking at things the same way. Like one of the young guys on there, he was talking about how, she kind of dogged him out because of his car. His radio wasn't working. He had the boom box in there. He had to Bluetooth his phone to the speaker. Look, I get it. But also, like, I was a 20-year-old guy myself, too. We all had been through that situation. At least a lot of us have. Like, I know I'm not a special case. I remember my buddy Johnny. We used to have to take turns, all of us riding in his car to hold the key in the ignition because it wouldn't stay in place. So you would have to hold it in there, but that's a live wire, so the key would get hot. So we would all have little rags and taking turns holding the key. And like it is what it is. I remember my 1984 Volvo 240. Look, the car was a hoopty. It had a cassette player in there. It didn't even have a CD player, so I had a cassette player with the that goes into your CD player, and I had to buy an anti-skip CD player, so if I'm hitting bumps, it wouldn't scratch up the CD. And yo, I went on dates with that man. It is what it is, and I understood where he was coming from. Like, hey, same situation, just in a different era. And that's why I tell people, like, guys, nothing is different when it comes to dating. You may think time has changed. Ain't nothing's changed in human civilization. We all still crave and want the same things. We're all going through some of the same struggles in life. It just look a little different. Like he may not have to deal with a anti-skip Walkman because it's hard to. I don't even know if they still sell those. But he got a Bluetooth boombox. What's the difference? And so you have to prioritize dates. And also remember, you need, and this is going to go into the third one, is you need to actually be appreciative. Gratitude is the way to actually unlock love in your heart. The more we're grateful for the things that our partner is doing for us, the deeper that love really gets. That love builds an unbreakable bond. And I wish this was one of the things that I was taught earlier in my marriage because we would have been along so much further in the spiritual part of the love. I wasn't as appreciative because I was still expecting. Well, I think this is what a wife's supposed to do. I think this is what a wife's supposed to do. I think I'm doing what a husband's supposed to do, but why isn't it enough? And because I wasn't appreciative, I was blocking my blessing. I really was, which was my beautiful wife who loved me unconditionally, who we started traveling the world together, man. Like we went on our first cruises together, like all of these things. And really just think about that. And if you have any comments, ask them down below. If you have something that you want to add to this, especially if you're someone who's married, who's living in that loving relationship, we got to start coming together and pass some of this information on to the people that are looking for relationships because there's too much information there. I'm starting to see the theme of these dating coaches popping up again. These players, what do they used to call them? The pickup artists or whatever. We don't have time for that, man. We do not have the energy to have a whole new generation of men and women falling for these pickup line jumps or these drizzle, sprinkle, sprinkle. It's like we need to start teaching them right now, like what does it really look like to be in love? And what does it take to get into that loving relationship if that's what you really want? And so I just hope this sharing some of my personal stories that I was able to share with my wife up until her last moment. I hope it can help you, man, because I'm on to building something bigger and better now. I'm building a new thing. It's a new Jason 2.0. And so I hope all of this information is able to help you. And then just remember this, success is simple once you know how.